So why was Lord Unwin Peake prime suspect in the death of Queen Jaehaera? Lord Peake was known to have shared his predecessor's concerns about the succession. King Aegon III had no children, nor any living siblings so far as it was known, and any man with eyes could see that the king was not like to get an heir from his little queen. Unless he did, the king's half-sister remained his nearest kin, but Lord Peake was not about to allow a woman to ascend the Iron Throne, having so recently fought and bled to prevent that very thing. If either of the twins produced a son, the boy at once would become first in the order of succession. But Lady Rhaeda's pregnancy had ended in miscarriage, which left only the child growing inside Lady Baelor on Driftmark. The thought that the crown might pass to the whelp of a wanton bastard was more than Lord Unwin Peake was prepared to stomach. Were the king to sire an heir of his own body, that calamity might be averted, but before that could happen, Jaehaera had to be removed, so Aegon could remarry. Lord Peake could not have pushed the child from the window himself, to be sure, as he was elsewhere in the city when she died. But the Kingsguard posted at the Queen's door that night was Mervyn Flowers, his bastard brother. Could he have been the Hand's assassin? It's more than possible, particularly in light of later events, which will be discussed in due course. Bastard-born himself, Sir Mervyn, was regarded by most a dutiful, if not especially heroic member of the Kingsguard. Neither champion nor hero, but a seasoned soldier and a fair hand with a longsword. A little man who did as he was told. But not all men are as they seem, however, particularly in King's Landing. Those who knew Flowers best saw other sides of him. When not on duty, he was fond of wine, says Mushroom, who was known to have drunk with him. Though sworn to chastity, he seldom slept alone save in a cell at the White Sword's Tower. Despite being somewhat ill-favoured, he had a rough charm that the washwomen and serving girls responded to, and when in his cups he would even boast of having bedded certain high-born ladies. Like many bastards, he was hot of blood and quick to anger, seeing slights where none had been intended. Yet none of these suggested that Flowers was the sort of monster who could take a sleeping child from her bed and throw her to a grisly death. Even Mushroom, ever ready to think the worst of everybody, says as much in his testimony. If Sir Mervyn had killed the Queen, he would have done so with a pillow, the fool insists, before suggesting a far more sinister and likely possibility. Flowers would never have pushed the Queen out of the window, the dwarf claims, but he might well have stood aside to allow someone else to enter her room. That someone were known to him. Someone may perhaps like to surrey the thumb or one of the fingers. Nor would Flowers have felt the need to ask their business with the little Queen, not if they said they came at the behest of the Hand. So says the fool. But to be sure, all of this is fancy. The true tale of how Jaehaera Targaryen met her end will never be known. Maybe she did take her own life in some fit of childish despair, if murder was indeed the cause of her demise. However, for all these reasons, the man behind it could only have been Lord Unwin Peake. Yet without proof, none of this would have been damning, if not for what the Hand did afterwards. Only 7 days after the body of the little Queen was consigned to the flames, Lord Unwin paid a call upon the grieving king, accompanied by Grand Maester Munkin, Septon Bernard, and Marsden Waters of the Kingsguard. They had come to inform his grace that he must put aside his mourning blacks and wed again, for the good of the realm. Moreover, his new queen had already been chosen for him. Unwin Peake had married 3 times and sired 7 children, but only one survived. His firstborn son had died in infancy, as had both his daughters by his second wife. His eldest daughter had lived long enough to marry, only to die in childbirth at the age of 12. His second son had been fostered at the Arbour, where he served Lord Redwine as a page and squire, but at the age of 12 he had drowned in a sailing accident. Sir Titus, heir to Starpike, was the only one of Lord Unwin's sons to grow to manhood. Knighted for valour after the Battle of the Honeywine by Joel Bon Roxton, he had died only 6 days later in a meaningless skirmish with a band of broken men he stumbled upon while scouting. The Hand's last surviving child was a daughter. Mariella Peake was to be Aegon III's new queen. She was the ideal choice, the Hand declared. The same age as the king, a lovely girl and courteous, born of one of the most noble houses in the realm, schooled by sceptres to read and write and do her sums. Her lady mother had been fertile, so there was no reason to think Mirella would not give his grace strong sons. But what if I do not like her? The king said. You do not need to like her, Lord Peake replied. You only need to wed her, bed her, and father a son on her. Then infamously he added, Your grace does not like turnips. When your cook prepares them for you, you eat them, do you not? The boy king nodded sullenly, but the tale got out, as such tales always do, and the unfortunate Lady Mirella was soon known as Lady Turnips throughout the 7 kingdoms. She would never be known as Queen Turnips, however. Unwin Peake had overreached himself. Thaddeus Rowan and Manfred Mouton were outraged that he had not seen fit to consult them. Matters of such importance rightly belonged to the Council of Regents. Lady Arryn sent a waspish note from the Vale. Kermit Tully declared the betrothal presumptuous. Bloody Ben Blackwood questioned the haste of it. Aegon should have been allowed half a year at least to mourn his little queen. A curt message arrived from Cregan Stark in Winterfell, suggesting that the North might look with disfavour on such a match. Even Grand Maester Munkin began to waver. Lady Morella is a delightful girl, and I have no doubt she would make a splendid queen, he told the Hand. But we must be concerned with appearances, my lord. We who have the honour of serving with your lordship knows that you love his grace as if he were your own son, and do all you do for him and the realm. But others may imply that you choose your own daughter for more ignoble reasons, for power or glory of House Peake. Mushroom, our ever-wise fool, observes that there are certain doors best not opened, for you never know what might come through them. Peake had opened a queen's door for his daughter, but the other lords had daughters too, as well as sisters, nieces, cousins, and even the odd widowed mother or maiden aunt, and before the door could close, they all came pushing through, insisting that their own blood would make better royal consorts than Lady Turnips.